Hello, I'm Andrea Stitt, the Barron County Extension Agent for Horticulture Education. Thank you for joining us today on another Master Gardener Monday. We're going to dive into some of the projects that our Barron River area Extension Master Gardeners have been working on at home. So the first one we're going to talk about today is actually a little bit of an experiment that Laura Daniels, one of our Master Gardeners, has been working on with her father. So they have purchased a commercial sold garden bin that is supposed to be accompanied with some wicking qualities. So wicking is where the water is actually brought up from the bottom of the container up to the plants. So they've also created a homemade wicking bin using a rubber bin that they've cut the lid out of and put some PVC pipe and some different things down in to kind of mirror the commercially sold product. So they have tried to plant these as identically as possible. They've planted some broccoli, pepper, onion, and beet transplants. And then they've sowed some carrot, spinach, and chard seeds. So you can see here the two containers have both got plants in them, about similar spacing as possible, and a little bit different. One of them has the planting board, it looks like, in on the commercial product, and then she has covered with some black plastic on the homemade bin. So some of the results that Laura shared was that all of the growing spots had been filled, but they did have a lot of seed in the homemade bin that actually never emerged. So her theory is that maybe the black plastic got the seeds a little bit too hot and maybe burned them up. But she's going to do some more testing, I think, in the future and maybe discover what that issue was. But she also plans to compare the yield of weight of produce that comes out of these to determine which method does the best. So we wish her luck and hope she shares her results with us. And it's always fun to do some experimenting in gardening, trying something new, learning something by trial and error is usually the funnest way to do it. And it also kind of encourages creativity and doesn't let you get as down if something doesn't work because you know, hey, you were just trying it. So we do encourage you to try new things each year and learn a little bit more by trial and error. The next plant we're going to have is the aronia berry. It's also known as the black chokeberry. It does have a little bit of a bitter taste, so it is edible, but it gets that chokeberry name from the fact that it has a tart taste. They can get about 3 feet tall. They like full sun to part shade. They're a medium on the watering requirement, and they're pretty low maintenance once you get them started. They are often, the berries are used in jams and jellies to kind of combat that tart flavor. Just eating them outright can be a little bit too aggressive for some people's palates. So moving on, we're going to talk a little bit about strawbale gardening with Miss Jewel Lay. She's been doing this for us. She had planned to do a public talk for us this year on the strawbale gardening. And she has already treated her bales. She's got them fertilized and ready to go, put her transplants in. You'll even see her tubing. That's her watering irrigation system that she's got in. So strawbale gardening is common in urban areas, and some of the aging population has started to use these so they can get their gardens closer to their back doors. So we always have new things that are coming in, or we find new ways to use old methods. So this is kind of one of those where people have been doing this for a while, but we're learning how can we use it for new audiences. So hopefully Miss Jewel will be able to do a presentation for us sometime in the future based on her results and her experience of doing this year. I will say that sometimes they do require a little bit more watering, so I'm really glad that she went ahead and put that irrigation system in because it'll make her life easier trying to water those when they get too dried out. Next, we're going to move right into the cut irises that Miss Wanda Kinslow did right before the frost hit us. She had cut these back and tried to see how long they could last. If they're treated right, the cut irises can last up to 2 weeks, but you have to give them extreme care. So if you're really estimating the lasting time in a vase, you're looking at more of a week unless you're doing special things to them throughout. So the best time to cut is early in the day while the buds are just opening. You want to place those in lukewarm water, and you want to cut the stems longer than what you're going to need for your vase because you're then going to go in and cut at an angle about 1 inch off of those flowers while they're in that lukewarm water. You also want to remove any foliage that is going to be down below that water line to increase the shelf life of them. And then you want to refresh the water and cut the stems back as it gets kind of murky. And you don't want to leave them in the water in a warm place. So like you want to put them in a cool area that doesn't have direct sunlight for longer lasting flowers. So we're going to move on to Miss Glenda Eaton's cactus, succulent, and agave bed. Her and her husband have a love for the West, and so they always try to incorporate these more Western thought of things in their garden. But I do like to say there are things that are hardy to our zone. If you're looking for things that can be planted outside that are going to come back, you're going to look for things that are hardy to a zone 6. That's what we are here in Kentucky. So yes, they do exist, but be sure to provide ample care for them because if you just throw them out there, they can get a little bit aggressive, especially the cactus. They can grow pretty fast on you. And I know that Miss Glenda has shared cuttings with many people, including me and a bunch of my friends. So definitely something that you can think about including if you want to in an outside bed are some cactus, succulent, and agave plants. Then this is another one that Miss Glenda Eaton has in her garden. It's a clematis plant. It's a very showy, decorative, and spectacular vining flower. It can have varieties that get as tall as 20 to 30 feet. Then some of the hybrids grow to about 8 to 12 feet. And there are some small varieties that grow from about 2 to 5 feet. So there's going to be something for everyone in this family. The growth may seem slow, but they do like to build good root system, usually that first year they're planted before it tries to vine and bloom out. There is a variety of colors from white, pink, purple, reds, blues, and then there are some bicolors that are out there. They are oftentimes used to create a shade area. They do like sun, but they can kind of create a shade because they do vine up. They can also create a border or a privacy fence if that's something that you're wanting. So definitely be sure you check out the different varieties that are available. And when you're looking at pruning, these are very dependent on the time that they bloom. So make sure you get the right time to prune them for the variety that you have, because it does differ based on when they bloom. So if you need help with that, feel free to give us a call and we'll try to help you figure it out. The next one is going to be actually from my yard, and I've seen several of these on social media this week, people posting and asking what it was, that they'd never seen it before. So I wanted to put it on here, and it's pronounced many different ways by many different people. So I say peony, but many people say it differently. So this one is actually in my backyard, and it is a large showy flower, has many different colors of flowers, and many different forms that are available. They get about 2 to 3 feet tall and usually have a 3 to 4 foot plant spread. They are long-lived, but sometimes are very slow growing. Usually if you're looking to plant a new plant, you're going to be looking to do that in the fall, but now is the time you will see the blooms coming in. You want to remove those seed heads after flowering is finished. This will actually allow the plant to put more energy into next year's blooms. So they also may need a support system because their bloom heads are so heavy. Their structure sometimes can need a little bit of support. So if it's something that you're struggling with, the flowers flopping over and just dropping down to the ground, you may look at putting in a support structure to kind of help that plant thrive a little bit better. So if you all have other images or pictures that you'd like to share or projects that you and your family have been working on, please feel free to email them to andrea.stith@uky.edu, or you can tag the Barron County Cooperative Extension Service Facebook page. We'd love to see what you've been growing at home. You all have a great day, and we'll catch you next week.